for some inexplicable reason. Perhaps it was the result of the Iraqi president Talabani's recent visit to Iran, and when he returned, made a report on Camp Ashraf to the U.S. Embassy from none other than the Iranian regime's supreme leader. While the international community has called for a humanitarian and consensus solution to the plight of the residents of Camp Ashraf, the current U.S. position in Iraq neither observes the residents' rights nor does it provide a consensus solution. In fact, it is the opposite. HR Resolution 332 urges the President of the United States to, again, quote, take all necessary and appropriate steps to prevent a forced relocation of Camp Ashraf residents either within or outside of Iraq in violation of the relevant provisions of international humanitarian law. In addition, the European Parliament, the United Nations, and prominent independent Iraq officials, as well as residents of the camp itself, have all vehemently rejected forcible displacement. The only exceptions are Tehran, a complicit Baghdad, and what appears to be, unfortunately, the U.S. Department of State. As the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Hugh Shelton, has stated, this is a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for ethnic cleansing, far outside the reaches now of the international community. Abandoning Ashraf is tantamount to giving the Iranian regime an incredibly stronger hand in Iraq. Instead of aligning with the Iranian regime's demands, we should be calling for a robust presence of U.S. assistance mission in Iraq monitoring teams to be placed in the camp to protect the residents against further massacres. And as the House Foreign Affairs Committee has stipulated, the U.S. should endorse the European Parliament's proposal to relocate the residents to third countries after negotiations are conducted on the condition that the situation in the camp would be normalized first. This is the only plan that both respects Iraq's sovereignty while ensuring that the human rights of Ashraf residents are protected. Now, Tehran obviously views the presence of the MEK in Iraq as a threat, a very large threat. And hence it's no surprise that the regime not only publicly supports the idea of displacement within Iraq, but actively lobbies for it in Baghdad and elsewhere. Much of this so-called lobbying is orchestrated by the MOIS through provisions of misleading, actually completely erroneous information. Disinformation, as we use in the spy world. Disinformation campaigns basically are feeble attempts to convince the United States and its organizations, the State Department, even Congress, as well as international observers that the residents of Ashraf should be displaced, and further that the MEK should remain on the foreign terrorist organization list. Now, I've looked at some of the reporting that was provided to the Department of State, much of it redacted, some of it previously classified. And in looking through that, you have to look towards almost the fine print. Now, I was in the intelligence business for almost 30 years. And when you get a report, the first thing a policymaker should do is to determine the veracity and the accuracy of the source. The veracity of the source and the accuracy of the information. In looking through these reports,